what if one single platform can really revolutionize how 120,000 business do e-commerce? ShopCircle raising about 60 million euro in equity and debt. So a very interesting deal on different levels, I would say. They have about 50 integrated applications.
What they are doing, ShopCircle is doing, is basically aggregating and putting under the same roof all the tools, as you said, end-to-end to manage your e-commerce. And they started out from the Shopify ecosystem.
Trend that is kind of, it plays into whatever they're doing, which is the idea of unified B2B platform. So let's jump right in with very interesting news, because the big question is what if one single platform can really revolutionize how 120,000 business do e-commerce? So why I'm saying that? Because ShopCircle, a deal that you know really well, has been very successful in raising about 60 million euro in equity and debt in a Series B round from Nextalia, Endeavor Catalyst, NFX, QED, 645, CDP, and then of course Primo Capital, TechShop, GS Futures, and I80 Group. So a very interesting deal on different levels, I would say. So maybe let's start. I know that you're close to the deal, so maybe let's start to say something about what exactly they're developing. I think it's very valuable because it's really in the crossroad of a lot of different trends, which are extremely powerful, especially today. So basically, what ShopCircle is doing is basically focusing on commerce-centric products, using artificial intelligence, and try basically to achieve the status where all the apps you need to scale e-commerce are provided by them. So it's very much of a hub of different kind of tools that one can use to launch and scale not only like on a very beginner level. It literally is from the beginning to like a sophisticated way of scaling e-commerce. So my understanding is that they have about 50 integrated application, basically that touches different aspects of e-commerce. So it's not e-commerce per se in general, it's really a lot of elements. And yeah, they're basically doing this whole like stack that serves the e-commerce industry. Now, I don't know if you have anything to add to this, Nick, but I think that's more or less the idea.
Yeah, no, it was pretty accurate. Thank you, Jack. So basically, if you want to run an e-commerce, you need a cart, of course. So any platform that allows you to show a catalog of products and perform transactions. But then all the rest is up to you. And what they are doing, ShopCircle is doing, is basically aggregating and putting under the same roof all the tools, as you said, end-to-end to manage your e-commerce. And they started out from the Shopify ecosystem. Shopify is one of the huge platforms for e-commerce and merchants. And unless you're on Shopify, you don't know that Shopify also has an app store. There are thousands of companies that developed solutions for merchants that run on the Shopify ecosystem. And the basic idea is, there are a lot of gems in there. Why don't we aggregate them, acquire, put them together, unify them, and offer them as a suite of solutions to the merchants? And that's the basic idea of ShopCircle. Today they're very strong on Shopify and starting to work on the other e-commerce platforms. So it's a huge market, and very, very, very interesting with the economics of the SaaS software. So 100%. This is not a 15% margin e-commerce solution. This is a 40% EBITDA margin type of software.
Amazing.
So super interesting.
Yeah, and you touch a lot of very interesting points, and there are more than that, I think. So one thing is that, there are integrated apps, but also by acquisition. So it's not just manufacturing them internally, but they also acquire. So it has the flavor of what is happening with some very successful company, like, maybe it's a far-fetched, like Bending Spoon, kind of integrating some elements, or other companies kind of acquiring. That's very interesting. So basically, this round is also pushing the finalization of the acquisition of AIDEN, an AI-powered guided selling software. So again, just this to say that they're basically getting in a lot of tech also from the external operator and being on top of a lot of trends in the e-commerce space. So one of it being sort of a AI guided selling, which essentially if you see the AIDEN website, it gives you a very good sense of what happens. And it's really a new way of directing purchases. So the old model is, okay, you go online and then you filter out things to find the product you need. The AI guidance is a blend of a sort of a flowchart plus a language model that basically support you in making a decision. So the AIDEN example, which is very fun, is the boot example. So you need to buy boots, and then the AI tells you, okay, what do you need it for? Do you need to for hiking? Do you need for whatever else? And then what is your budget? And it's very powerful, actually. So that to say that ShopCircle is really on top of that, and I feel it's really blending well in a lot of elements. Secondly, the Shopify element. So my understanding is that Nick, and I don't know if you have this information, they are right now the larger provider of solution in the Shopify App Store. So it's pretty powerful, actually.
I'm not sure. I don't
know if they are the larger, but definitely one of the largest provider of solutions. So imagine that situation, especially for people working daily on Shopify. So that's very, very interesting. All right. And again, not limited to end-to-end e-commerce solution, because there is another element which is very interesting, which is the revenue financing. So that tells me a lot, actually, that they're really pushing a lot of boundaries in terms of how exactly they're experimenting on different dimension. In the dimension of the revenue financing for e-commerce platform, again, that's something which is definitely an interesting integration. What's your feel on this?
Well, they see themselves as the final service provider for e-commerce merchants. So that also means experimenting with not just software tools, but everything that the merchant might need. Revenue financing is another interesting tool in their capabilities. So supporting merchants that want to launch or scale their e-commerce solutions. Because if they help the merchant to grow, then they will use more and pay for more and be more integrated into their platform. And since one of the core capability of ShopCircle is to identify data points regarding the quality of software solutions, the metrics, so they really know how to find the best gems. It's easy to translate that knowledge into understanding the best customers to provide with this type of solutions, revenue financing, so on and so forth. So it's really a matter of how you see your mission to support the merchant in growing their business.
Fantastic. That's awesome. Let's talk about the investors. So again, this is a very interesting pool of investors because it really includes like some Italians, but they're really projected toward a lot of internationals. So the one that first pops into my eyesight is NFX. NFX is like a very prominent Silicon Valley investment firm, and which basically their value proposition is about network effects, and hence the name. And yeah, I mean, someone that can really open up, especially in the next rounds, a very different ecosystem of investors. So very, very, very interesting in terms of using, close, like sort of more like closer investors, but also having already someone that can actually boost the growth. So very interesting. And what's your first take on the different pool of investors?
No, it's a great cap table, of course. So great names and great capabilities. It's always very interesting to listen to the conversation going on the board and with investors. I have to say, NFX, they're really good, and they were the investors at the seed, so very early. This Series B round was led by Nextalia. It was one of their first investment with the venture capital fund. So super interesting. And Endeavor joined the investor list. All the other, including us, were already on the cap table. Us, Tech Shop, CDP Venture Capital, we invested at the Series A round in 2023. So we continue to follow up in the rounds.
Beautiful.
It's equity and debt because, of course, that debt is the leverage part to support the acquisition play and acquiring more products to add to the platform.
Awesome.
This is
awesome.
the idea.
And do you feel that maybe also some of the debt, we had the situations where, certain companies raised the equity and debt, and then they were doing some revenue financing kind of play. So do you feel that the debt part also will play into the revenue financing? So it's kind of a debt financing that also supporting part of the business in this case, and not as a full value proposition, but a little part, on certain levels.
Well, the answer is maybe, depends. Maybe. The revenue financing part is within the business model, is still in the early phases. They introduced it last year, so it is a very good feedback from the market. And so that might play a role there, of course, even though the basic use is related to the acquisition play, of course. But again, the moment that you see that part of the business model is working well, of course, I think it will become more prominent, and of course, you will want to somewhat finance that part of the play.
Perfect. Interesting. The last thing I want to mention is actually a trend that is kind of that plays into whatever they're doing, which is the idea of unified B2B platform. So basically, this is the idea of basically that businesses are increasingly demanding this integrated solution that allow them to streamline across operation and reduce cost, of course, but at the same time have some personalized approach, and for example, like in customer journeys on other elements. So this is kind of another step forward for B2B platforms in a way. So the unification. So what do you think of this, Nick?
Well, the basic idea is that you mentioned there are other type of players who have this build-up approach. Spoon is one, but there are many others. Probably the most famous in the world of software is Correlation Ventures. Mm-hmm. Constellation. Constellation is a platform acquiring tenth of SaaS businesses every year. But many of these platforms don't fully integrate the solutions, meaning they don't clean up the brand, unify the marketing voice, streamline the connection among the apps, so strengthen somehow the network effects that you can create among the tools that you acquire. Because they are all, in the case of ShopCircle, they're all solving the same problem, helping the merchants selling more and better. The real additional value that they provide is allowing the merchant to pick the tools and the solutions that they need, having them cooperate in a perfectly fluid way in their day-to-day operations. And you can do it because you control the app, you control everything, and you can provide the sensation of unified solution, even though you are building it a piece at a time. And that basic vision, you are not purchasing a tool, you are adopting ShopCircle as the brains of your e-commerce. And you decide which parts of the brains you need. So that's the basic idea around this B2B platform.
Interesting. All right, moving on to some of the other big rounds of last week. Let's talk about quickly Arsenale Bioyards raising 10 million in seed round from Planet A. byFounders, CDP Ventures, Acequia Capital, Plug and Play, Business Angels, a few Business Angels, of course, and Grey Silo Ventures. So interesting deal, very, very technical. So essentially, Arsenale is working on precision fermentation, industrial application. So it's very much basically working with microorganisms on different levels to produce different kinds of product. So it's a very specific industrial angle, especially in the food and the agri-tech space. And a very interesting pool of investors, again, very international. So a lot of them are from different nations, like Planet A is from Germany, byFounders Denmark, Acequia and Plug and Play from the US. And of course, one of the prominent corporate VC in Italy, which is Grey Silo. So kudos to them, definitely a good job into kind of gathering together to do something very, very powerful into the micro fermentation space, which is very much cutting edge, I think. So talking about corporate venture capital, another interesting deal that happened last week is basically Federigoni Group investing in France-based Papcot alongside Square Capital and a few previous investors. So CVC is moving in Italy through different operations. And of course, full disclosure, Federigoni, we work with Federigoni as IN3 Ventures. So we supported a little bit what has been happening in the corporate venture program on their side. So Papcot has been a very interesting deal. By the way, there is an Italian founder also. So there is a little bit of Italy here. But what is interesting is that Federigoni has a very strong commitment in investing in early stage companies in their space. So it's a little bit on the beginning phase compared to more sophisticated programs like A2A, Eni, or other bigger corporation from Italy. But that shows really a lot of elements that are moving in some Italian corporation that are more and more interested into the startup ecosystem. So very interesting deal, very long, with different layers, a lot of integration with M&A. So it's was definitely an interesting deal that happened.
Yeah, super interesting. So you know the things that happen in the background of this.
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. But I must say it's a very good blend actually. What was very interesting, and that's a few things I can say, is the fact that there was a lot of traditional VC diligence, but at the same time a lot of M&A contribution on the other side. So it was a very nice blend. And just to say that again, this is touching maybe on some points that we saw a few weeks ago about M&As trying to also entering the venture space in some forms, and that's happening in corporation as well, not only in M&A advisory firms or firms. But yeah, that's really what is happening. So very, very interesting. Awesome. Talking about corporations, let's talk about Bancomat also. Nick, if you want to take it from there, that's interesting.
No, just a quick one. So Bancomat, that's a place in the payment system in Italy, made the first acquisition following a new industrial plan, and the first acquisition is a startup, FlowPay, that was invested by Crédit Agricole and Agos, I believe, a couple of years ago. So interesting play that a corporate start, dipping their toes into M&A and starts with technology and startup. So very nice thing to see and witness.
Awesome. So this concludes our corporate venture corner, and this also concludes today's episode. So Nick, thank you so much for joining, and thank you everyone for listening, and I'll see you all next week.
Ciao Jack, take care. Thank you so much, and ciao everybody. See you in a week.